All right, so in this video, what we're going to talk about is sometimes when you're an integrator and you have to, let's just say, remotely work on something and you have to get it to work properly. You have to convert things. So this right here is a processor that is a 1769L33ER. That is known as, better known as a compact logics for the 7 series controller. Now, I want you to note that. How do I test that if my Logix Echo does not have that version, right? Literally, it has compact Logix 5380, which is the L8 series or the 8 processor. It also has the 9 series, but we don't have the 7 series. So how do we do that? Well, sometimes you got to export your code, and then sometimes you have to, or you can just redo your code, meaning you can just go up to the processor. You go up to the processor and you change your processor type to something that would work. Now, there are edits you have to do after that, but if we are just in the business of testing the code and making sure our code works, like for instance, I had to add some controls in here for the CIP. I had to add an extra couple steps and do different things. As you see, I have to like force things on because obviously I don't have the devices with me. I don't have the devices hooked up to my system. But if I'm doing a state machine or something like that and I want to be able to test it, I want to be able to see the functionality and make sure that I work out my bugs before I take it to the actual field and get it, downloaded, installed, so that when we do that, we don't have any or minimal problems. Then I can come over here and do this. Now, how do I do that with Factory Talk? I simply go to my Factory Talk application. I go to the communication setup, and this is all just, again, temporary to make sure my Factory Talk works as it's supposed to and works with my PLC file, my ACD file that I'm going to install. Now, I will, after everything, all the bugs are worked out and everything is worked out, I will transmit this back to the other processor, the L7 or the 7 series processor that I just described before in the video. But temporarily, I've pointed my shortcut to my basically my Echo processor. So if I come over here, you can see my Echo processor. This is the DLT pasteurizer. And anyway, so long story short, if there's a will, there's a way. You can test your code, and then you come up here to application test. You start that, and that's going to run your actual application. Now, what I'm going to show you in this is a couple of different things, because I want you to understand that basically you're not held to the limitations of what you think you are. You don't have to have the processor. You don't have to have this. You don't have to have that. Software is now evolved so much that you can do whatever you want to do when you want to do it. Just be flexible. Just because your processor is not listed in here does not mean you can't export your code, or does not mean you can't convert your code to like I did, from a 7 series processor, which is not listed at all in the Factory Talk Logix Echo platform. It's not listed at all. I converted it to an A 8 series processor, which I have. The 8 series processor is 33, 34, 35, 36, 37, 38. And if you don't know how to look for your software packages that you have in Echo, you can just, and the stuff that you've downloaded, you can look at your firmware packages right here on the left hand corner, and that's all you have. I'm not running, I think I'm running Echo at, this is 4. Yeah, so this is 4, so it has a lot more to it. But with that said, you could be running 2, 1, 3 and still have those packages. You just have to install those packages. So all my stuff is working. Now, if I wanted to test my CIP code, which again, so if I log in, I can see my values. So I'm going to log in real quick. You're not going to get to see the password, so I don't really care. And you're never going to get to the point where you're at the plant that you need to know the password, so I'm not really worried about it. So this is where I put in my timers for my CIP and stuff like that, and I can adjust my air blows and stuff of that nature. But let's go ahead and actually start. I want you to understand that there's nothing turned on right now. So I have the ability, if I want to, I can cut on all the floor drains. And you can see all that works. Now, with that said, I can start a production run. But in production and in CIP, I do not have the ability to open the floor drains because it is not going to be safe to do so. So let's go ahead and start our CIP. And when we start a CIP, we're going to start the air blow countdown, which the air blow countdown is the accumulation. The very first air blow sequence is the accumulation of all the numbers that you put in here, added together as the bare minimum of your step 1 of the CIP. The rest of the steps are basically based upon what it takes to clean the system, and that's just how we're going about it. So it's 120 seconds of wait time. So what that's doing is it's opening this valve. So there's an air blast right here, right on the pump. This opening, and there's also a check valve, so it cannot go backwards. Okay, and so in real life, there's a check valve. So AVO 2's on, AVO 14, AVO 3, AVO 5, and then we are diverting back to the balance tank. Now, once that wait time is over, and I want you to see this inside of the PLC code itself, is in step 1. You can see in step 1 of the state machine, which is basically a finite amount of states, I'm basically making sure that my air blasts are on. Now, the main air going to each valve, what I'm doing right now is just flushing what was in the system out. I'm letting it just naturally flow to the drain. That's that 120 seconds. After that 120 seconds, it will cut on a mill air blast that has an actual, let's just say, for instance, 80 psi that will flow through the pipes. And then that will actually keep these air blasts on for another 60 seconds so that it blows each sequence out. It will blow each portion out. So as this timer gets to a point where it's 120 seconds, you'll see that this cuts on. And the way I have that code written, you can see right now, if we go to our controls, you can see my air blast is on. So keep in mind there's a check valve right here, so it cannot go back to the balance tank, but it will go to forward, and then it cuts on. Our 14's open, so now we're flushing everything through 14, and in the CIP, and then after 60 seconds, we're going to cut off 14. And then at that point, we're going to leave AVO 3 on, which is flushing through the next point, and then basically pushing air through to make sure all the fluids are out of the system before we start our CIP. You don't want to start a cleaning process with the system that is completely full because you possibly can leave contaminations or anything like that in there. So the air blast, the 80-pound air blast that we're sending through the piping is what's cleaning the pipe. So now 14 will cut off. Okay, so 14 cut off. So now we're actually air blasting through the pump, coming through the system, going and dumping to AVO 3, which is a low point drain again. Now, after 60 seconds, it will then shut off AVO 3 and then continue on to the path of AVO 7 or AVO 5. You can see that right here. 30 seconds has evolved, and you can see actually the code right here. You can tell that the next one to cut off is 3. I have that in the code that shows that. But just want you to keep in mind. And some of these others that are counting down I haven't fixed yet. I spent last night really kind of nailing down and working on some of the finer things of this code to make sure that it works. The air blast was one of them, and then the sequence. I haven't done the final sequence yet, so this second air blast does not work yet. But so we just cut off AVO 3, and now we're flushing everything through the heating system all the way to AVO 5. So that's getting all the fluid that would be remaining in here out of AVO5 for 60 seconds. And then at 60 seconds, it comes over here, comes all the way back after the AVO5 closes. It cleans out the tube system and then goes and diverts all the way back to the batching tank, which is the balance tank, if you would. And then, so after 60 seconds, and you can see that the only ones that are cut on are the air blast, which is the 80-pound blast. And this is the solenoids that are cut on right now to give that flow, that direction that it needs to clean the pipes adequately. Now AVO5 is about to cut off, and then we're going to get the whole system back to the balance tank. So you see my steps have converted to seconds. So you can see that everything is working properly. AVO5 is closed. Now we're going all the way back to our balance tank, and we're dumping out of AVO2. Remember, we have a check valve between AVO2 and the pump, so it cannot go backwards. Yes, it can go forward, but if the open port to the drain is right after the balance tank, then it will go directly to the balance, or directly to the floor from the balance tank. And then, so we go back over here, we have 20 seconds, and then 20 seconds, basically what happens is it closes AVO2, and it will close the AVO19, which is the 80-pound air blast. We do not want to, have 80 pounds of air in the system and inducing air. So now we're on step 2. It quickly steps to step 2, and we're waiting on our pumps. So in this port, what we're doing is we're doing a production rinse. So the production rinse would start both pumps, and it would make sure AVO6 is open, AVO14, which AVO6 is open, AVO14 is going to, or I'm not AVO14, AVO1. So we're inducing water. We're going to, then as soon as the balance tank comes up to a certain level, it will cut the pump on and then go through the system and then divert back. And then if again, with proper pressure, the regeneration pump will come on and we'll go back through the system and then flush to drain with the TCV01. Now, I just wanted to show you that because, again, stepping through this whole system, and I can also, with that said, with everything the way it is, and I've probably talked enough where I can't step through, but I can also step through the steps as well. So I can go to step 3 and rinse to drain. So if I wanted to, I can go ahead and step through, and this is just waiting on the pump to cut on. So what it will do, in so many words, is it will divert back and forth several valves to make sure it cleans both sides of the system. So we're effectively cleaning out with regular water, and with air first, with regular water second, with one direction, and then air or water again with bi-direction, both directions. And then afterwards, our next step is going to be a hot water rinse. So we're going to fill, we're going to add chemical, then we're going to go a hot water rinse, and we're going to fill that caustic, and we're going to heat up that caustic to a certain, basically 160 degrees. And then, so this is, but the point I'm trying to get at is not to explain the process so much as it is to understand the way you can simulate your own code. Now, I will, once I get the code perfected, what I'm going to do is take the file and I'll either convert it back, or I'll just export every single, like all my main routine, export it. My fault routine, I didn't make any changes. So basically just my main routine right here, I'll export it. And then I'll basically add it back in to this code. I'll delete it from this code, add it back in, and then I have a finished product of back to my 1769 L33ER, which is, again, the 7 series processor. With that said, hopefully this educates you as being a person that if you have to test and you don't have the equipment, or if you have to test and you're trying to test your code, to make sure your code is adequate and good and everything is working. And no, by the way, I can actually hold this stuff and stop and reset it and then go back into a regular production mode. I can open up all the drains. I can cut on a production mode if I want to. And so life gets really, really simple. There are some heating tips that I've given them up here. I make my systems as user-friendly as possible for the operators and even the recipe systems. So the recipe system has it derived off of an SD card, so it can't really populate. But with that understanding, all I'm doing is adding proper steps to my CIP and making sure that they control the set valves that they control. Those valve controls, again, I just kind of give you a little viewpoint. Kind of looks like this. It's very laid out, if you would. It gives how many minutes and how many seconds is left. It gives basically your air blast. It tells you, you know, if you're in step 1, you're enabling it. And after you enable it, after the wait time is over, you can cut on your main air. Obviously, all the valves will be open at that point in time. I give statuses of the valves. If the valve is open, I give a status of 1. If the valve is closed, it's a status of 2. So there's a lot of code to check out, right? Is what I guess I'm kind of getting at. And there's a lot of things on the factory talk side of things that I need to fix. I need to add. I need to adjust. So with that said, I'm taking this scenario and I'm making it, even though I didn't have a path forward to check it, I didn't have a processor, I didn't have the right emulator, I could change and alter my code, not alter my code, but take my code into a different processor and use it on Echo, which is doing right now, tie it in with Echo, tie factory talk with Echo, and then I can test my whole system to make sure my whole system works properly. With that said, hopefully you learned a lot from that video, and we'll see you guys on the next one.